It's not a dream. They're everywhere. Computers are transforming every aspect of our lives, including what's on our movie screens. Portraying the information superhighway on film can be an infectious challenge.
We're a virus.
A challenge that Hollywood filmmakers embrace. Coming up, we'll explore the brave new world of cyberspace with Johnny Mnemonic's visual effects designers. Surf the internet as true-life computer whizzes guide Sandra Bullock through a web of deceit in The Net. And enter a futuristic realm of virtual terror where Denzel Washington battles his way out of Virtuosity. A new generation of cyber effects artists power up their hard drives to bring us exciting entertainment. Next on Movie Magic. On a soundstage in Toronto, a surreal vision of the future is brought to life. This odd mixture of high-tech and grit is the world of Johnny Mnemonic, a 21st century personal courier.
Action!
Portrayed on screen by Keanu Reeves, Johnny is a walking hard drive, carrying priceless information in his brain's implanted computer memory cells.
Give me the data.
To keep his head on his shoulders, Johnny must venture into cyberspace, the much-discussed but hard-to-envision world that exists inside computer networks. This imaginary landscape of digital bits and bytes was first conceived by the creator of Johnny Mnemonic, author William Gibson.
Cyberspace was coined as a buzzword. I needed a snazzy neologism to stick at the front of a science fiction story and grab the reader's attention. And so when I coined it, I had only the vaguest idea of what it might subsequently come to mean.
Today, cyberspace has become a catch-all term to describe a computer world network one can't physically see. That hasn't stopped filmmakers from attempting to visualize this world on screen. In 1982, the futuristic adventure Tron ventured into cyberspace by following half-human, half-digital characters as they zoomed through computer circuitry. A year later, the scientists depicted in Brainstorm strapped themselves into sensory experience headsets for a taste of virtual overload. But the filmmakers translating Johnny Mnemonic's story to the screen envisioned cyberspace as a much denser, more complex landscape. Director Robert Longo relied on his background as a visual artist to determine the movie's digital terrain.
Cyberspace had to have a feeling of infinity. And at the same time, it had to be a city. You had to be able to do stuff in it. You had to be able to reach in it and grab stuff and move things around. That a kind of physical space was really important, that you could travel through it.
In a key sequence, Johnny makes a long-distance telephone call through cyberspace. To create the digital portions of this sequence, Longo turned to the computer animators at Sony Pictures ImageWorks. The producer of the telephone sequence, George Merkert, was both excited and a bit perplexed by the assignment.
First of all, what in the world does cyberspace look like? To answer that question, you've got to find somebody who's got a vision of what cyberspace should be. I was lucky in that I had John Nelson, the visual effects supervisor, and Jamie Rama, both in the same company. Those two guys put their heads together and came up with this idea of creating a space that was based on the idea of buildings and community, but projecting it 50 years into the future.
Inspired by the ideas of early 20th century architect Hugh Ferris, John and Jamie designed a futuristic city existing within microchips.
Our concept for cyberspace is very definitely the urban environment of the future. We feel that in the future you'll commute, get your education, do business and commerce all via computer, and you'll telecommute from wherever you live to wherever you need.
To illustrate this digital metropolis, Nelson and art director Rama used images suggested by Gibson's script and short stories. Conceptual drawings were laid out in sequence on storyboards.
This really needs to be the important moment, because he'll stop here, and then there'll be like the Cyberspace Tabernacle Choir right here.
Rama then took these images to his personal computer, where he painted full-color renderings of the various levels of cyberspace.
We designed 3 distinctly different looks for cyberspace, and it's just like different parts of a city might look completely different. We wanted each to have a distinctive flavor. There was upper-level cyberspace that's corporate and cool. There's Cyber Beijing, that was where 800 million Chinese have buying power. And then there's Cyber Newark, who's sort of smoky and smoggy and concrete and post-industrial.
Once these designs were approved by Longo, the Sony animators converted them into 3-dimensional wireframe models.
I would take this shape and move it up into this area here so that it's more in that space.
Much of the animation was created on personal computers, a development that heralds a major evolution in Hollywood. In the past, only high-end computer workstations were deemed powerful and fast enough to create visual effects for feature films. But the new, more powerful desktops used on Johnny Mnemonic prove PCs are up to the task. 15 animators worked under supervisor Frank Foster to realize the complexity of cyberspace.
We spent a lot of time adding as much depth and detail and movement and activity throughout the entire 3D space so that it would feel like this was a really big cyberspace environment.
Every point in the wireframe model is painted and shaded. Separate trajectories are then plotted for each object to follow in the animated sequence.
All these little elements here are 3-dimensional elements that can move within the scene and allow us to get that feeling of depth, to get the fully rendered look of cyberspace.
The choreography of these elements is plotted through numerous tests. The staff then gathers to screen and assess each test.
The most important thing here is the attack when we go in. And then the quick backing. We can stop quickly. We want to really control it a lot. It's like the conductor in Fantasia where he goes like that, and everybody just goes, That's the control this guy has over his hands.
Each test becomes more dense until finally Johnny's fully rendered hands maneuver him through the minefields of cyberspace. Among those who praised the animator's work was the man who first imagined this micro-universe.
When I first saw the ImageWorks telephone call, I just thought, wow, I almost fell out of the chair. I mean, that sort of sense of speed and depth and complexity, it's great.
Get off my board.
It's very good.
You're too hot.
The use of personal computers has the potential to revolutionize the way feature film visual effects are created.
One of the things I think all of the visual effects companies are looking for are ways to be able to do the work faster, cheaper, with the good quality that everyone expects. And we're finding that we can do things very quickly with this application.
Good morning.
When we return, Sandra Bullock finds surfing the internet can be a dangerous sport.
Good evening, Dave.
How you doing, Hal?
Everything's running smoothly, and you?
Oh, not too bad.
Computers first appeared on movie screens in the early 1950s, but it wasn't until 1969, with Stanley Kubrick's 2001: A Space Odyssey, that they made a memorable cinematic impact.
Open the pod bay doors, Hal.
I'm sorry, Dave. I'm afraid I can't do that.
The ominous voice of the spacecraft's mainframe, HAL 9000, left a foreboding impression of what the computer age might hold in store. While computers have not proven to be killers, abuse of digital capabilities by humans provides a backdrop for the techno-thriller The Net.
But believe me, the kids will eat this up.
In this PC-packed story, a young computer analyst's life ultimately depends on her ability to manipulate the keyboard.
For a while, one keystroke will wipe out your whole system.
Since moviegoers are now so computer-savvy, the handling of computers on screen must be absolutely realistic, a challenge recognized by the film's star Sandra Bullock.
There's a way that you do things on the keyboard that you don't even need to think about. You know, if somebody's watching themselves play with the mouse, that shows you that that's somebody who's obviously never played with a mouse before. You just want it to be natural and have a natural rhythm that doesn't look thought out. You don't want it to look like she's thinking about the next move she's going to make on the computer.
Ensuring that Sandra makes all the right moves is the movie's computer graphics supervisor, Todd Marks.
The computer plays the part almost of an actor in the story here, because so much of the story relies on what happens on the computer screen. We've been asked to create a great number of custom screens specifically designed to tell story points in the movie.
These computer screen graphic displays, ranging from an internet pizza delivery service to inter-FBI email, must appear on the computer monitors as if in response to the actor's keystrokes.
The software is designed so that actually the actor can hit any key and the right thing comes up on the screen. They don't have to concentrate exactly on hitting the right key. So it gives us the ability to make it look real.
The pre-programmed computers free the actors to concentrate on their performances.
When I'm sitting here, I type everything that goes through my head, and the guys on the other side can see what I'm typing, and on the other side going, she needs therapy, she needs it today.
Monitoring Sandra's keystrokes are real-life computer whizzes Alex and Harold Mann. The brothers designed the film's custom screens and are on set during filming to handle last-minute changes.
Every time we've done a scene, there's always one small change. You know, the character is always interacting with the mouse and the keyboard, and we give them things to type, things to click. And sometimes if the line changes, it contradicts what's on the screen.
Go back to what he's doing by the time Wendy comes in.
By the time Wendy comes in.
This flexibility was demonstrated while filming a scene in which Sandra's character books an aisle seat on an airplane.
Somebody pointed out that seat 8A would never be on the aisle. It would be on the window. And the neat thing about having a computer on set is that you can make that change right on the spot. So we are able to be as flexible as we need to be right on the set, and it becomes like any other prop.
Having such rapid-fire technology at hand can be a valuable tool, yet not one to be taken lightly, according to the film's director and Academy Award-winning producer, Irwin Winkler.
Now, you go so fast, sometimes you don't have a chance to think. And that, to some extent, is what the film is about, is that you better not lose contact with human beings, and you better not depend strictly on technology, because you can end up alone and afraid.
When he comes out, we have your mail has been sent, flashing on the screen.
In the film's climactic scene, Sandra Bullock and her character's nemesis, portrayed by Jeremy Northam, play a dangerous game of internet intrigue in the middle of a computer trade show.
What did you think you were trying to do? Save the world?
No, not the world, just myself.
Ultimately, the heroine outwits her opponent, with a little help from a nasty virus. Created by off-screen magicians. Coming up, experience the frightening simulated reality of Virtuosity. This huge warehouse in Playa del Rey, California, is one of the largest wooden structures in the world. It was originally built as the assembly site for Howard Hughes' jumbo airplane, the Spruce Goose. Today it is home to a new group of dreamers, the filmmakers of the futuristic action thriller Virtuosity.
Okay, cut right here. Everybody freeze.
Director Brett Leonard previously depicted the computer-generated world of virtual reality in his 1992 science fiction fantasy, The Lawnmower Man.
Set the rigs down so these gentlemen can put their weight on their feet, please.
His challenge in Virtuosity is to create a world where a malicious computer-generated villain can cross over into the real Los Angeles of 1999. The action begins in a futuristic police training center.
This is LETAC, Law Enforcement Technology Advancement Center, where they're creating the SID 6.7 virtual reality villain.
It will not be shut down.
Can't change what I am, Darryl.
While computers will create the digital shots that depict SID 6.7's virtual world, Leonard is relying on mechanical effects to create a huge machine through which the human characters enter the simulated reality.
In order to go into virtual reality, you have to be strapped in these rigs and your nervous system is connected up into the virtual reality so that you experience what's happening there as very real. You could literally die in that virtual reality. And Denzel Washington's character, Parker Barnes, is put into virtual reality on this set.
It's an experiment to give officers a better way of fighting crime. And they plug the police officers into the simulator in order to find out how well they do against the worst type of criminals, so, so that they can be better police officers.
Devised by production designer Nilo Rodis, the VR, or virtual reality machine, has 2 hydraulically driven rigs that are safely controlled by 4 operators just off camera. But in the movie, a technical malfunction causes a character killed in the VR simulation to die in real life.
Just get him down!
Call the paramedics in!
Villain Sid 6.7, portrayed by Russell Crowe, then escapes into the human world. Parker Barnes soon finds that he survived virtual reality only to be a hunted man with nowhere to hide. Ultimately, the 2 characters must return to the virtual world for a final confrontation. To oversee the blending of physical and digital images, Leonard turned to visual effects supervisor John Townley.
So we're looking at the elements on the...
Townley, whose previous credits include Wolf and Tall Tale, looked appropriately enough to computer technology to create Virtuosity's computer-generated world.
The film is very complex technically, and it looks complex technically. It's about complex technology, and that really gets to the screen. We had many different components that went into showing the interface with the actors to virtual reality.
These different components were then composited or combined into a single image on a computer workstation called a flame system. This high-powered system allows images to be digitally manipulated, as in this scene where it appears that Parker Barnes is falling to his death. The first step to create this shot was filming Denzel simulating a fall against a temporary green screen background. A second element was shot by an actual falling camera attached to a descender rig. Finally, splattering paint is used for blood. With a few strokes of the computer's wand controller, the images are electronically merged into one seamless shot. This system also allows Leonard and Townley to introduce Virtuosity's visual effects in a very subtle way.
There are little clues that slowly reveal to the audience that they're watching something that's not quite right. For instance, 2 pedestrians walking up and down in a subway scene will actually cross through each other and have sort of a glitching or pixelating effect at their shoulders.
Other VR sequences are being created at L Squared, one of the newer generation of Hollywood effects houses. As with Johnny Mnemonic and The Net, many of Virtuosity's visual effects are animated on personal computers.
Reveal the skin in organic fashion to make it...
With the animated nanotexture.
Correct.
Visual effects producer Jim Wheelock oversaw the film's animation elements.
Where we felt the PC animation was a very natural and obvious fit was in creating the look of a VR world. PCs were the primary tool used for generating those animation sequences.
One of the film's most striking visual illusions occurs when the human characters are pulled out of the virtual reality world. To produce these dematerializations, it is necessary to first generate a 3-dimensional sculpture of each actor, which can be manipulated by computer.
Lean back just a tad. I need you to hold still for about 15 seconds. It's going to go around you.
These sculptures are created by scanning the performers with a laser beam, a technique originally developed for plastic surgeons to show patients how they might look after surgery. These digital doubles, like the laser scan of Denzel Washington, were imaged at Viewpoint Data Labs. They are then manipulated by L Squared's animators to create shots that would be impossible to film. Compositing of the dematerialization elements was overseen by Dan Todd.
If you look really closely here, you'll actually see this is Denzel. This is an actual photographic image of Denzel with a computer graphic background. So we have a nice blend transition to a computer graphic model, 3D model of Denzel. And the 3D model we then take and very unkindly rip apart.
With all of Virtuosity's stunning visual effects, director Brett Leonard hopes to not only entertain audiences, but also to make them wonder.
The topical element in our culture that is in our face so much is, what is technology doing to us? What can we do with technology to extend our bodies, our minds, our souls? And so stories that deal with this new techno-mythology is something that I think is very pertinent to the time.
Hey, Parker, this one's for me.
The meaning behind this myth appears to be, don't trust your eyes. What they see may be a virtual illusion. While the tools to produce high-quality visual effects are now widely available, the creative vision necessary to realize these images will never be sold in stores.
People in the effects business tend to be visionary, and they just want that image. And I think every animator lives to really get it right, because they know it's a little bit of immortality.
Whether it's Virtuosity's filmmakers blending the physical and digital worlds, the Net's off-screen wizards orchestrating online intrigue, or Johnny Mnemonic's animators charting the digital landscape of cyberspace, the result is an eye-opening vision of virtual movie magic.
Good morning.